Welcome back to another episode of What's Your Next, the podcast where we talk about the bold steps toward building the lifestyle and freedom that you actually want. And today we got a great episode called Goals Before Grit, Why Getting Clear on What You Want Changes Everything.
Welcome to What's Your Next. This is the go-to podcast for aspiring business owners who want to get to the next level, escape the rat race, and give their middle finger to the corporate 9-to-5. If you want financial freedom, work-life balance, and the business of your dreams, you're in the right place. Dave and Stacy Riska, husband-wife franchising duo, openly share their successes, failures, and lessons learned in franchising, business ownership, and working with your spouse.
So we're talking about goals and how your goals, both short, medium, and long term, have a huge impact on the type of businesses that would be a good fit for you. So, Stacy, what's a good starting point for this conversation and getting clear on your goals before investing in a business?
Right. Think of it like we're going on a road trip with our candidate. You have to know the end point in mind. You have to know where you're going. You're not just going to get in the car and drive, right? So knowing your destination are the goals that are going to help you get there. And we have our own proprietary franchise roadmap system, our 9-step system that we use to guide candidates through to successfully getting to the end of the road. And what that entails is us diving deep and getting clarity on what do you want? Because I think a big mistake that candidates make is thinking brands, franchises, businesses before they're thinking about themselves and ultimately what they want.
Right. So really the question is, why is it so important to start with what is your why for wanting to own a business?
Right. And I'm going to throw this back at you, Dave, because this is something you spend a lot of time with our candidates on. Why don't you share what is the why? Why is it so important? Why?
Well, the why is so important in which businesses are right for you because it's really going to be the motivation and the inspiration that's going to get you out of bed on some of those days where you just don't feel like it. Mm-hmm. Meaning that everybody, that's in business and sooner or later hits some type of adversity and they need a very strong why to want to keep continuing. And those whys can come in different flavors: freedom, flexibility, financial freedom, legacy, so on and so forth. Sometimes people have more than one why. And what's really, I think, important to cover in this episode is that there's more than one why. There's a short-term why, there's a longer-term why, and ultimately there's the critical why of why do they want to be in business at all. So that's really why it's so important to make sure that you have a very strong why before you start evaluating any kind of business you might want to go into. All right, so I'm going to kind of share a story here of a why, that it relates around flexibility and freedom. And, one of our candidates that we were working with, it took a while to figure this out with this person because they had multiple whys. They had a longer term why, they had a shorter term why, but their ultimate why, believe it or not, is they wanted to coach soccer. They wanted to coach their kids' soccer team. And that meant that that why was the driving force in which business opportunity made the most sense for them, because that was definitely a shorter term why and a longer term why in their case. Mm-hmm. So it became the driving force in which franchise they were ultimately placed in. So how do long-term goals shape the franchise search? What do you think? How do the long-term goals shape the franchise search?
Right. So you mentioned there's long-term goals we have to look at, short-term goals, and there's also lifestyle goals. So when we're looking at long-term goals, these are more of the bigger picture, maybe even looking at the exit, right? If you're going to invest into a business, what's the end game? In 10 years, when your franchise might expire, are you looking to sell it, Because if you're looking to get out quickly, let's say in 5 years, and flip it for a big multiple, then that would impact which brands we match you up to. Whereas if your longer term goal is legacy, as Dave was talking about, well, then that might be a whole different kind of concept or category that we match you up to. So getting really clear on the long-term goal, 5 to 10 years, what you want to achieve from owning this business will help us match you to the right concept.
Right. Okay. So, obviously long-term goals are, I think, weighted pretty heavily in this decision, because anytime you're going into business, you should probably have more than just a short-term horizon for being in that business, or you probably shouldn't be doing it to begin with. What do the short-term goals look like in this process?
So short-term goals would be considered 1 to 2 years in as you're ramping up. And these are usually revolve more around the financial goals. So are you looking to replace an income? Do you have clarity on the economics of the business? Do you know when your break-even's going to be? And what is your model going to look like? Like, are you leaving a job to jump into this? Are you doing it more as a side hustle? Are you going to bring in a manager out of the gate? These short-term goals are going to impact both the investment level that you have and how soon and how quickly you achieve ROI and scalability.
And why do short-term realities matter so much in business selection? And I'll just go back. Before you go, I just wanted to go back to our candidate. In their case, freedom and flexibility was both long and short-term goals for them, and they were placed in a home-based business, which made sense for them because it allowed them the freedom and flexibility to work from home on their own schedule. So why do these short-term realities matter so much?
Look, you're going to be investing a significant amount of money in the business of your dreams. So you want to make sure that you're able to achieve those short-term goals. We don't want to match you to something that's going to put a financial strain on you. But as Dave mentioned, let's say you're something home-based is going to be more of a better fit for you than something that might be brick and mortar. If you're going into brick and mortar, one, it is a larger investment, but usually the ramp up time is much longer because there's a real estate play. You have to find it. You have to sign the lease. You have to build it out. And usually that's 9 months to a year down the road. So understanding what your runway looks like is going to help you achieve those short-term goals.
Absolutely. All right. So obviously these long-term, short-term, and lifestyle goals are critical to selecting the right business. So what are the biggest takeaways of this fact for exploring franchise ownership?
Here's the thing. Most people initially who want to look and explore at business ownership, they think brands, they think businesses, they think, oh, my friend told me this was a hot business, or I went to this business and there was a line out the door. So we say, don't do it. Don't look at a business because of the business. Look at a business based on what we've been talking about today. Your why, what you want to get out of it. There are more than 4,000 different franchises, so it can feel very overwhelming when you're starting to look and explore, and there's no possible way you can know about all of them. So naturally, your tendency is going to go towards something that might be sexy or that's a big name brand, but that may not necessarily be the right fit for you. So working with Dave and I, we're going to dive deep and help you get clarity on your goals, your why, and then match you to concepts that would be a good fit, saving you time, aggravation, and money so that when you get matched to the right one, you can just take off.
Right. Absolutely. Great summary of the key takeaways. I'm going to add another story here of recent candidates that we worked with. And this speaks to exactly what we're talking about here, that we had spent a lot of time with this person, particularly Stacy, learning this person's why. And they came to her with some ideas of what they wanted, and they were really looking at, based on where they were in their life and a job transition that had just happened, they wanted something that was going to make them feel good, meaning that they wanted to give back. So they were looking at child care, and they were looking at senior care and pet care. And after going through this process and really learning what they were really, really, really looking for the most, which was flexibility and freedom, they ended up in an entirely different business than they even thought about when they started this process. So the key thing, I think, is to make sure that you come in with an open mind, and that there are so many opportunities in franchises out there, over 4,000, as Stacy said. The one that is the sexy one that everybody else is getting into just may be the wrong one for you. It really could be. And you can invest a lot of money to find that out 2 or 3 years down the line. So with that, what are the next steps that somebody ready to explore franchises should take?
Well, of course, they should reach out to us, grab a virtual coffee. Look, we're always producing content to be helpful to you, to help you learn, explore, and just learn more about business ownership, lifestyle, franchises in general. Our home base is nextlevelfranchisegroup.com. There is a quiz on there that you can take that is more high level, but will indoctrinate you to understanding some of the things that we will talk about more if you grab a day and time with us. Dave can also put our calendar link in the show notes and just start diving into our content. There's lots of videos that we have both on our website and YouTube, and you can find both of us on LinkedIn. We'd love to connect.
Great, Stacey. Thank you so much. Let's wrap this up. Always a great episode talking about what's your why. It's one of my favorite topics. Thank you for joining us today. If you liked our content, please click the links, like, subscribe. It really does help us with the YouTube algorithm. We appreciate it. And we will catch you on the next episode of What's Your Next?